Roll call, please. Sorry.
Nutt?
Here.
O'Brien?
Here.
Duff?
Here.
Jeremini?
Here.
Redhorn? Here. Kazmicki?
Here.
Schmidt?
Here.
I don't believe any additions to business.
None tonight, thank you.
All right. Number 5, approval of agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence information, we have 3. From DTE, Jennifer Whitaker passing. And then from Oakland County Community Health, it's mental health awareness and our local market update.
Motion to receive and file as presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, thank you. Second by Newman, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First call to public. It's an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items only.
Good evening. My name is Tom Daly. I'm here today to talk about item 15, the TIA correspondence. I want to thank the council that was there on the working meeting, I think the end of February, for putting forward that request and looking for some input on the problems that we've been having with the parking there. I'd like to talk about the 4 recommendations that were made, as you guys will be discussing what is next to do with that. So the first one was to approve a parking prohibition traffic control order on Ventura. I just want to make sure the council is aware that I believe there's already a traffic order there, and while I believe that that's a good thing to have there, it has not solved the problem in the last 5 years. So while I think it should still continue to be some kind of traffic control order there, I'm not sure that this is really going to address the problem that's at hand. Second one, install a pavement marking line across the Ventura Drive, approximately 150 feet northwest of Solano Drive, beyond which parking of vehicles. Again, we've had no parking lines that have been painted on there for some time. I do believe this would be an improvement by moving those back and identifying the whole area, but I don't believe that that's going to stop anything from happening. It will continue to happen as people have they haven't been considerate of that anyway. So while I believe that we should do that as a requirement, I don't know that that's going to handle stopping what's going on there at this point in time either. The third idea, can reconstruct Ventura Drive so the road surface is one material in the public right-of-way where parking would be prohibited and clearly show a separation of private property. I would refer you guys back to my page 8 that I provided on February 28th. This was the initial proposal that I put forward to the engineering and to the village back in 2018, and I think this probably is the only way that really is going to prevent this from happening. So I believe that this is the proper mechanism for trying to control that area better. Finally, host a public meeting with the affected property owners on Ventura Drive, giving them the opportunity. While I'm open to doing that, I can tell you at least out of the 6 properties that were there, 4 of the properties were contacted during the last design discussion. So again, adding that back into the matter, I'm not sure you're going to get any different input than what you have, but I'm not opposed to it. I just don't think that at this point it's necessary, and because we've been struggling with this for over 10 years now, really, I asked that the council approve some actions quickly to make sure that this is resolved. If it can't happen quickly, I actually asked for them to give me some temporary relief by at least removing the driveway that is crossing my property line as it extends out into the right-of-way, because there's still people that are parking across that right now. So if this is going to be a long, arduous process to get the entire right-of-way paved and marked, and the ordinance to be set up to make sure that we do a full and proper job of controlling that area, I would ask that some temporary relief be granted so that I don't have to go through another summer of driving around people's vehicles or potentially backing out and hitting them when they're parked in that area. I thank you for your time today.
No other interest? Motion closed.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by second by,
You
Yeah,
made
I
the
can
motion.
see.
I second it.
motion by Jeremy, second by Duff. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration approving the following consent agenda.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Newman,
Yes.
Claiborne,
Yes.
Kuznicki,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Knut,
Yes. Board appointments, we have none, right?
Correct.
Presentations. Recommendations for Claire Miller Cycle Challenge.
Hello, yes, the BMX track is on the agenda to be started on Monday. They picked up plans yesterday, discussed them with us. The survey staking was completed actually 2 days ago, and they are starting work on Monday. So we expect to see some good movement in the next few weeks. Hopefully before the next council session, it'll be up and running. Landscaping won't have taken place at that point, but the track should be mostly done at that point, so. And then we have the paving program. You'll see a letter in your packet. We are recommending that council continue holding the final monies withheld from Hutch Paving. We did go out and do a detailed inspection of all of the roads that were paved last year, and we found some very minor, but definitely some areas that we would like to see patched prior to releasing the final funds to Hutch. We have been in contact with them. They do know about them. We are meeting them on site and working with them on the few areas that we would like to see some fixes happen. And they are willing and ready to do that as soon as the asphalt plant's open. So I believe that takes care of, Aaron has talked to us about a person on Shankin who is having some problems with drainage. Mike was out there during a rainstorm, as well as I've been out there twice now. The reason that curb was put in is because at 2091 or 2190, there was a curb put in because the water was carrying through his lawn into his garage previously, the way that it was. And so we were trying to limit the amount of water that could be, it runs around that curve and down into a swale that goes into the lake there. So we wanted to put that curb in so that he did have a trench drain in front of his garage, but I know some of it did go past that through the lawn. So that's why we put that curb there. We could definitely raise the grade and allow some of the yard to flow into the road because the curb is also obstructing a small amount of his yard, and it's going to behind that curb, and it's just kind of sitting there. So in one way, we fixed something. In another way, fixing something created another problem, which tends to be the case out in these places. So we'll work with them and figure out a way to make sure that they're not having that drainage concern. But believe it takes care of my stuff.
Michelle, I just had one question for you about Hutch. Was 5% of the contract price that we held back? Was that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It was 4,700 and something like that.
Okay.
And obviously they're a good contractor, so they, even for that much, they want to make sure that we're happy with the work that they did last summer for us.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. I got correspondence from their surety company asking the status of the job. So I just want to give them accurate information when I respond. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Public hearings, we have none. New business. Our code enforcement report for 2025.
Council, the code enforcement report normally appears as part of your consent agenda. You think back to the work session that we had in late February, and at that time, the council had indicated the general consensus was that the council wanted to have a little bit more information in the actual reports. So I spoke with Bill Bazinski, who is our code enforcement officer, and he has been providing more detail in the reports the last couple months. I know that council had commented last month that they appreciated the additional information. So above and beyond the additional information in the report, there are just general questions from council about how Bill conducted his patrols in the village and the kind of things that he was looking for and what he saw as priorities, things along those lines. So my thought, the best way to maybe answer those questions was to have to Bill come in himself. So again, Bill is here tonight. Bill, I don't know if there's anything generally you want to add. I would just indicate in terms of what I know about Bill and my experience with him. I first got to know him when he was a police officer in the village in Milford Township. Not that he arrested me, but no, I was on the other side of the table when I was working at the prosecutor's office. But Bill spent, I believe it was 30 years there with Milford and retired as a police sergeant. Not too long after he retired there, he came to work here in the village as a code enforcement officer. He's also worked as a code enforcement officer for Milford, although he is no longer doing that. As I understand, he's just working in the village right now. So, again, Bill is here. If you have any questions for him, or again, Bill, if you have anything that you wanted to add tonight. So, if you could, please step up to the podium.
Well, I would like to say for one, that I appreciate the additional information, because I had asked even, I think, 2 years ago when I first came on, I said, I just, there's not a lot of information, you know, on the code enforcement, and so it's nice to see a little more information. And I just had one question. In your opinion, what would be your most often, I don't know, is that used, violated, you know, issue with residents? What's the biggest issue?
It depends on what season it is.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Come May, there'll be people that aren't mowing their grass, and it's already in violation over 7 inches. Sometimes it's because their mower's in the shop, they can't get it started, or, you know, it's a myriad of excuses, but that's one. Blight is another one. Commercial signs, advertise, or lawn signs like advertising a commercial business in the residential district, not allowed. Have a fair amount of that. Occasional junk car, I seem to have that under control. Compost bags being left out, kind of out of season before, in this case, April 7th. People putting their garbage out early, and then not grabbing the empty cans. The ordinance says promptly. Obviously, when they're all empty and scattered on Monday, you know, people are at work. They're not going to be grabbing them, so I really don't do anything at that point. But I work Mondays and Fridays, so Monday I see your empty garbage can out, no big deal. Come Friday, you know, I'll take action against it.
Thank you.
When you say junk vehicle, is that current tags? Does
Yeah,
Pride Balancing some are
it's
similar
your
current tags?
typical MO for the people who are storing a car without a license plate on it is to back it in the driveway. Sometimes a neighbor will tell me the plates, it doesn't have a plate on it. I don't trespass on somebody, maybe that's too strong a word. I don't go on someone's property to look for things to enforce against them. The only time I go onto somebody's property is if I'm going to leave a violation door tag on their front door. So if it's inoperable, if it doesn't have a license plate, legally you can't have it.
What happens if it does? You can tell it's inoperable, it hasn't moved, but it has a current.
Yeah, there's
plate and
there's
tag.
ways, you know, and frankly, I routinely do this with these cars. You see the other two bright shiny cars in their driveway, and the other one you can't see out the windshield, it's got flat tires, it never moves. I can say I saw it on February 1st, and it didn't look like it moved, and now we're into April. And generally, people either promptly comply or they don't comply, they don't really call me up and say, that's not a junk car. Typically, if the car's, with the response I hope to get and usually do is the tires get inflated and they get a plate on it. But those that don't, at some point, it'll get towed off their property if they get a ticketing for it. We can ticket once every 10 days for any particular violation. And then the fourth ticket is a district court violation. Sometimes it's a little more difficult because with a district court citation, the court is now requiring a lot of biographical information. I don't have quick access. I don't have access to the Secretary of State, but the police department, the chief cooperates promptly. And then I can fill out one of those. Sometimes the problem is the tax roll hasn't been, and I'm not familiar with the process. The tax roll hasn't been updated. So it says John Smith owns the house, but John Smith passed on, or John Smith doesn't own the house anymore. Unfortunately, I'm very limited with my ability to sometimes determine who is responsible for the property.
Is there a code or an ordinance that you really would like for the public to better understand that, because you've seen it happen so many times and you just, you feel like you're kind of just hitting your head against the wall because it keeps happening over and over?
That's a very good question, and unfortunately, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, over the time. What'll happen, I'll normally, with Dave, I will explain my issue with him on it, and, there might be a good reason that's done that way. Zoning law is weird. It's weird because I come out of a criminal law environment, which is, although always not 100% clear, it's clearer than zoning laws. Like, for instance, in a residential district, you have, they would list things that are allowed. They don't list things that aren't allowed. And the only thing that is allowed is what is allowed. And but so people want to argue sometimes about, well, it doesn't say I can't have this, or this on my property. Well, and then try to explain zoning law to them can be a little difficult. There's times I don't even understand why things get written the way they do. But I know that when you folks do things, it's through a process. It's not something arbitrary, and it's not even something that's necessarily quickly resolved. I mean, the government moves slowly for a good reason in most cases, because it's more complex and you have to get people's viewpoints and legal opinions and such like that.
I was just going to second what Pam said. We certainly appreciate you being here tonight and this additional information that you're providing. I think it just helps us be better advocates for the work that you're doing, because it is important, and it helps us understand what you're spending your time on. So we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. A lot of these violations are the result of ignorance, and I don't mean that in a negative way, of citizens.
Right.
Why can't, I don't understand. I didn't know there was a rule against having your garbage out before Sundays after 12 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I do is kind of, it's couched in terms like violation notice, but it's more like you need to know about this, and a lot of times that helps. The leaf bag situation has gotten a lot better than when I first started working here, because people know now, but it still occurs.
Mm-hmm.
I got one. Usually there's a lot of, I'm sure you get a lot of, people calling and complaining about things that you can see from the street side of the property.
Yes.
Do you have a like a standard operating procedure if you get a complaint on the lakeside?
Well, let's say you called in a complaint about something. I will ask you, can I look from your property? Sometimes residents will, other times they want to remain anonymous, even though I know who they are, or they've identified themselves. But, you know, they got to live next to this person, and they don't necessarily want their neighbor to know, hey, they're the ones that's complaining about the pile of leaves in their driveway for 6 months. So, yeah, it can be a little tough at times to kind of identify in that regard, but most of the time, it kind of works out, you know. I really don't have, I mean, I can't specifically immediately recall times when I couldn't identify a problem. But I do indicate in a violation notice to residents, especially if they're complaining about maybe a backyard that's a disaster area, that I made my observations from the street. So they don't think, sometimes they think I'm coming on their property. I had a guy on, well, let's call it Woodlawn, and the neighbor was complaining about a hot tub without a permit. And I went on his property with his permission to do that. Well, the neighbor who, with the hot tub, was complaining because he felt I trespassed on his property, and I didn't. But sometimes that's what you get, you know. People, we all tend to think the worst. You got a problem and you're waiting on a diagnosis from a doctor, and our tendency as human beings to think, you know, the worst about that. But you know, I don't like having to lie to people, but I recognize, you know, how the situation is. In my time as a policeman, I dealt with all manners of neighbor problem, you know, and part of the conversation you have with these folks is you have to, unless you're planning on moving out next week, you have to exist next to them. We've got to find a solution rather than, you know, making a mountain out of a molehill, I guess maybe the best way to put it.
I just had one more question off of Aaron's question. If you do come across something that might be like an Eagle violation, is that something that you're forwarding on to Eagle, or is that not something that you would be able to?
Yeah, the community is blessed by having two administrative assistants, Tabitha and Paige, very knowledgeable about stuff like this. So I know I could go to Tab and say, I've got a complaint from this resident about a seawall issue or something. And, you know, I never get bad advice from them. So, yeah, we would forward things on to them, yeah.
Yeah.
If I could, just a general comment, and feel free to jump in. And I mean, my experience, code problems arise on properties for a lot of different properties for a lot of different reasons. So I'm not trying to oversimplify things, but as a general rule, I would say if someone gets a ticket for a code violation on their property, they've earned the ticket on their violation on the property. Because as Bill indicated, he made reference to hanging a door tag on a property. I know the Bill does that. Bill sends out letters when he sees that there's a violation saying, hey, this is a problem, you can't do it, please take care of it. If you don't take care of it, then we might have to start issuing you tickets type things. Sometimes people respond, sometimes they don't. He has a couple different levels of tickets he can write. He can write the municipal civil infractions, which are tickets that are payable upstairs at the counter, and that resolves the matter. He also has the ability to write the district court tickets he was talking about before. which are also civil infractions, but then actually require the person who gets the ticket to appear in court to resolve the ticket one way or another. So we're not looking to make money with these code enforcement tickets. Bill doesn't get paid more if he writes more tickets. We don't have a quota system or anything like that. We're looking to get compliance, and we try to get compliance any way that we can.
People earn a ticket. I mean, maybe that's an inelegant way to put it, but they earn the ticket because we haven't gotten compliance. However, there's many times that I have voided tickets, many times, due to the fact that now I've gotten immediate compliance with something that for whatever reason, and there's a lot of reasons they give, they haven't complied in the past. So, they always receive the ticket, and they never seem to receive the violation notice, although they go in the same envelope and get mailed in the same manner. So it's kind of unusual how that happens. Or they're out of the country. We have a lot of people in this community who leave the country for a month straight, and so I'm being facetious, but that's sometimes the excuse they use. They're out of the country. I guess people do leave the country, right? So who knows?
Once they get violations. People overseas that get violations. Anybody else? Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
Bill.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
I was dreading this. Dave held my hand for a while, comforted me. But, yeah, you've all been very nice and treated me more than fair, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work, Bill, too. So,
Appreciate you. Water Management Board recommendation. Aaron, you want to?
So we have a request here to approve the purchase of the shrink wrap recycling bags. This has been a successful program we've done for years. The shrink wrap that we actually shrink wrap our boats with isn't recyclable in a typical manner. It takes extra process. So we actually have been going through Dr. Shrink, who supplies us with shrink wrap bags that you can pick up at the village office. We'd like to continue to do that good service for the community. It looks like there was going to be a little increase in the bags, going from $7 to about $10 a bag. So that's why we're asking for a few, up to $700 this year to purchase about 75 bags.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bill, second by Brian. Roll call, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Termini,
Yes.
Krasnicki,
Yes.
Knopf,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Layborn.
Yes.
Mr. President, if I could just flesh that last issue out a little bit. Number one, thank you for approving that, council, in a leap of faith, expecting that you were going to approve the release of the funds. We went ahead and we did go ahead and pay for the shrink wrap bags. And we actually took delivery on them the end of last week. So the bags are currently available upstairs if anybody wants to stop in at the Village Hall during regular business hours. We just try to get an address from everybody that's picking up one of the shrink wrap bags, because in theory, we're talking about one bag to a resident, one bag to a customer. They're big bags. You can put normally the shrink wrap from 2 boats in one bag. So if you've got more than that, then maybe talk to your neighbors, see if you can buddy up with one of your neighbors. But we do have the bags upstairs. They are available. So, and as I understand, Rob Jankowski from the Water Board was the kind of the point person on this item. And he talked with, it's a different company that actually comes and picks up the plastic shrink wrap for recycling. And when he contacted them this year, the dates were a little bit limited. So at this point, we're looking at having the fencing or the signs outside in the back to drop off the shrink wrap the week of May 10th and May 11th. So I know that's early, but if the weather cooperates next week, there'll probably be a lot of people that will be pulling the shrink wrap off and getting their boats in the waters. So again, weekend of the 10th and the 11th. If you do have the bags filled, if you can drop them off. If for some reason you're not going to make that date, there are other locations in the area, as I understand, where the bags can be dropped off, and we'll put more information about that out on the website after the dates of the 10th and 11th passed.
Just be clear, there's no cost to the residents picking them up?
No cost. No, you can purchase them at other locations, but no, the Water Management Board felt that it was a good enough project that they wanted to spend some of their budgeted funds to pay for the bags so the residents would not have to.
Pay schedule proposal. You can hear that, the chief.
I think I'm going to ask the chief to start on this. This is some software that he first learned of that he felt would be a particular benefit to the police department. It sounds like we may be able to use it for some of the administrative staff upstairs as well, but I'll let the chief run with this one.
We typically, when I brought over from South Line, you put everything on an Excel spreadsheet, and you put a narrative with it, and sometimes there's some errors that are involved in that. So by the time it gets to me, it gets over to Jen, sometimes there's some other human errors that go into this. So I was discussing this at my Thursday morning Chiefs breakfast, and Wixom, Walled Lake, Novi, White Lake, they all use this pay scheduling proposal. Like, listen, you gotta use this software. It takes all the errors out of it. It's a click and drag. Everything's done electronically. It's web-based. We have apps on our phones. You can request days off, officers, and people get notified of certain time changes and everything like that. So a lot of them have been doing it for years. They would not do without it. It makes life easier for both myself and for Jen. It's a click and drag and it works. It coexists with our current BSNA software, and so it's one of these no-brainers. It's well worth the money, every penny that everyone talked about, and so there's going to be some training and learning, but we think if we get things going and we work with them, they provide training for Jen, they provide training for me, they provide training for the officers and the users, and so I think it's a no-brainer. And I was able to talk to somebody at the Michigan Association, the Chiefs Conference, back in February, and then we had a live Zoom meeting. There was myself, Sergeant Marasco, Jen, and Dave were on there, and it looks pretty promising, and it's going to save us both a lot of time and errors, and I just think it's a really good opportunity for us to kind of just get into the 21st century when it comes into the software for scheduling. Make things a lot easier for both of us.
Motion to approve 1,600 not to exceed for the scheduling software.
Second.
I have seconded by Newman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Nutt,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Kresnicki,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Laborn,
Yes.
There we go. How long will that take once it's started to get rolling?
We're hoping to get rolling by May 1st. It can be even sooner, depending on how quickly we get the information. It's going to just take a little bit of time, but we're hoping to get that rolling by May 1st.
And as I mentioned, it looks like we could probably use that same scheduling software for the administrative staff upstairs. In the Zoom meeting, we talked a little bit with the representative from the company and to see if we might be able to use the software for the DPW, but in looking into it a little bit more, the way we allocate the costs for the DPW's labor, it's over so many different items in their line items in the budget that it's more than the scheduling software can handle. So we'll still have to continue to do the DPW the way we have all along, but it looks like for everybody else, we can use it, and as the chief said, it should save some time and some aggravation.
Yep.
All right. D, second reading and adoption of ordinance 164. It's an ordinance to amend Title IV, Building Administration of Part 14, Building and Housing Code of the Code of Ordinance for the Village of Wolverine Lake by adding Chapter 1446, Construction Board of Appeals. in order to establish a construction board of appeals to address issues involving the administration and enforcement of the State of Michigan construction codes in the Village of Wolverine Lake.
Motion to adopt ordinance 164 for your reading.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini. No discussion. Let's have a roll call for that, please. Roll call.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Claiborne,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Jimmie.
Yes.
All right. Introduction and first reading of ordinance 84A-2. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 208, Purchase and Sale of Personal Property of Title II General Provisions of Part 2 Administration Code, the Code of Ordinance for the Village of Wolverine Lake, by repealing Section 208.13, Sale of Property, and replacing it with a new Section 208.13, Sale and Disposal of Property, in order to modify the personal property sales procedures for the Village of Wolverine Lake property.
Council, as indicated in my April 4th memo, the village code currently requires advertising, competitive bidding, and council approval before we can sell any personal property that has a value of $1,500 or more. That's not a very large dollar amount. I think the change went back, I want to say back to the early 70s or something like that, when before that it was more than $250. Don't quote me on the numbers, but, and as I've indicated, the last couple of times we went to sell property, particularly surplus police vehicles, the process was really pretty burdensome because of the fact we had to advertise, we had to wait for the sealed bids. I know one of the low bids that we had received and was awarded, the guy never came through with the money. So we had to go back, we had to re-advertise again, and so on and so on. So what we're looking for is a little bit more flexibility. The ordinance would allow personal property with a value of less than $15,000 now to be sold or disposed of with the approval of the village administrator, with my approval. So at the same time, I don't want anybody to think that this is just carte blanche for me to start divvying out, selling excess property to whoever I like and things like that. What we have in mind here is, again, tapping into Chief Sovic's experience with South Lyon. They used a municipal auction website to sell excess police property, excess DPW, and things like that. It's a private company that would handle all the work of collecting all the bids, determining who the highest bidder is or are. Any cost that's involved for them for conducting the bidding process is passed along to the buyer of the property. It's not coming off of the sale price for the property. That's what we would intend to use for this excess property. We didn't specifically tie that into the ordinance language because, again, we're looking for more flexibility, but that's what we envision. That's what we're planning to do going forward. We're going to have a police vehicle that will be ready for 2. That's right, since we just bought the new one, that's right, we'll have 2 later on this year that we will be ready to put out for auction. There's also some other miscellaneous equipment in the DPW we'll be looking to move, and again, we'll be planning to move it through the auction website. But again, this would be first reading to get us started on an ordinance that would allow more flexibility in general, but again, with the intention to use this municipal auction website that has worked so well for the city of South Lyon.
Great.
It's just a lot more exposure for people, so you get more return on your investment in the long run when you sell it. And more people, and people just love used police stuff. You know, there are some people there, they come from all around different states to pick up the property, and so it's just simple of creating an account for us, and then, like Dave said, they take care of all the, anywhere between 5 to 9% is what they charge the buyer. That's included in the sale price. The buyer knows that ahead of time, so it's a free service for us. More exposure and just bringing more money for our used vehicles and DPW equipment and whatever else we want to put on there.
Yeah, a lot more exposure, because again, with the other vehicles, we would post something on the village website about it. But then our advertising really was pretty much limited. The spinal column, when the spinal column was here, the spinal column is obviously no longer here. So then either I mean, we could use the legal news, but more likely than not, we would use the Oakland Press to do it. But it's a much more limited readership than the kind of viewers that we would get with the auction website, so.
I make a motion that we hereby approve ordinance number 84A-2 to repeal section 20813. First reading.
First reading.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Brian. Any discussion with that?
It's just an introduction.
Was it?
It's just an introduction.
Yeah.
It's first reading.
Yeah, so-
He made a motion to approve it.
I'll do-
No, second first reading.
To accept the first reading. So, change motion?
Change motion to accept first reading.
Okay. Keep the second?
Yeah. I'll amend the second.
Roll call.
Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Claiborne?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Thanks, council. We'll bring this back for second reading and adoption at our meeting next month.
All right, Village Treasurer Employment Agreement. Take that one.
Well, council, since today happens to be Jennifer Hansen's birthday.
Happy birthday.
I felt it would be appropriate to bring a new employment agreement forward for council to potentially approve. Seriously, her current agreement is scheduled to expire in about 10 days, give or take. So Jennifer and I sat down and reviewed the terms of her current agreement, had some discussion about what she was looking for, had some discussion about what I thought would be reasonable for the village, and subject to your approval, we do have an agreement that we're presenting to you. This would be for another 3 years for Jennifer to serve as our treasurer. Her salary would increase by a total of 6.6%, and from about $69,600 to a little over $74,000 a year. The 6.6 sounds like a big jump, but a couple comments. Number one, that's the pay increase that was recently approved for the administrative assistants. Number two, that 6.6% increase, which would be effective when the contract is approved, would include what we expect to be a 4% increase that the unionized employees are going to get as of July 1, and the non-union employees are going to get. So effectively, really, it's a 2.6% increase above the 4%, but then the 4% would also go into place now instead of in July. So the other information I provided, there's a copy for you at the table tonight. I had also emailed it to everybody yesterday about comparable data, the numbers that I compiled from the most recent wage and salary survey that the Michigan Municipal League conducted. And that isn't every community. Again, I tried to look for communities that were nearby, that were close in size. I didn't include Novi. I didn't include Farmington Hills. But there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 other communities and the village. And as it currently stands, Jennifer's compensation is at the bottom, or very near the bottom of all the other communities. So the salary increase, I think, is more than appropriate. In addition, she currently has 12 days of vacation time. That number would be bumped up to 4 weeks or 20 days a year, which I think is reasonable given number one, the amount of time that she currently has with the village, but also recognizing that she worked for the village for about 10 years before. And then in the meantime, she was also working at White Lake. So she is a seasoned municipal employee, and I think we need to recognize that in terms of the level or amount of vacation time that she gets. In addition, she would also start to receive a monthly telephone allowance of $50 because she does use her telephone quite a bit for the work that she does. Believe me, I can vouch for that because of all the text messages and emails that she and I send back and forth when one of us is in the office. So I think Jennifer has been an invaluable addition. Remember, we had a real tough time finding someone even before Mike Kondak tragically passed away. We knew Mike was on his way out, but we were having a tough time finding someone. Fortunately, we did, so Jen was able to spend a little bit of time with Mike before we lost him. But since that, so she was kind of thrown into it when Mike passed away so suddenly, but Jen stepped up and she did a good job. She didn't actually have any specific treasurer background at that point in time, but she's really sucked it up. She's taken every training opportunity that she can. I think she's come a long way. She's got still a little bit more that she can learn, but we all do, about what we do. And from a personnel standpoint, she's fit in seamlessly. We couldn't be happier to have her upstairs. So I would recommend approval of the agreement. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
I'll make a motion that we approve the employment agreement for the village treasurer as presented.
Second.
Motion by Deb, second by, you got it? Labor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hunt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jermeany?
Yes.
Rayborn?
Yes.
Vizinski?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Geez, outside employment waiver, village administrator.
Also, this is a personal request that I put on the agenda tonight. I felt a little bit awkward doing it, but I felt that it was appropriate. The current employment agreement that I have with the village prohibits me from having any kind of outside employment. I suppose at the time we could have structured it that I would have been eligible to have any outside employment as long as there wasn't a conflict with my duties here at the village, but I didn't really feel it was necessary at that time. And I don't know that a full amendment to my contract is necessary now either. But as I've indicated in the memo, the city of Royal Oak, where I used to work, reached out to me last week. They have a very new city manager and a fairly new city attorney, and they asked if I could assist them in the upcoming annual personnel evaluations that the city commission, their elected officials, do with those two individuals. So they felt since I had served both as a city attorney for a number of years and as the interim manager for a period of time, actually at the same time, they thought that I would be uniquely qualified. So I would like to be able to help them out. I'm not going to do it for free. They will be paying me a little bit of money to do it. So again, to avoid any issues with the language in my contract and in the interest of full disclosure with the council, I put this on the agenda. So I would ask that you, for the limited purposes of the work that I've described with the city of Royal Oak, that you grant a waiver on the prohibition of outside employment in my current employment contract.
Make a motion that we grant the outside employment waiver for the village administrator as presented.
Second.
Motion by Deb, second by Newman. No need roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, council.
All right, second call to public. Opportunity for citizens to address the council regarding village business. Motion, any motion to open?
Motion open.
Second.
That's by Newman, all in favor?
Aye.
We're open.
Well, I spent a little bit of time in Lansing.
Name and address, please.
David Leyburn, 2335 Shaken. A couple people came to me to ask my advice about the park. And I spent a day in Lansing. I took my little package with me. The gentleman that I talked to referred to me by a higher up. What is interesting is, this is the 72 people, homeowners, belong to that park. And what the deed says, that it's dedicated to the use of owners of Lot 1 through 71, inclusive Wolverine Lake Park A and B, hereby dedicated to the use of signed and sealed the presence. And the fact is, of all the lot owners, so all the lot owners own this park. So I told them that I'll have a meeting with those people if they like, and then I'll bring the lawyer from Lansing to cover this thing. because I know you said you didn't see anybody swimming, but I've been going past that park for 47 years, morning, noon, and night, basically. And I've seen people swimming in the park. I've seen people campfire at night. I've seen people sunbathing down there. That's a park. It's not a place to, only 9 people to have the enclosed area so people can't use that. The other part is, you go there on sunset, it's the most beautiful sunset we have in the village. You're up at the hill, you can see it across the lake and so forth. You never let 9 people getting a benefit of $2,000 a year to park their boat there, because that affects the other 60-some people that they don't have use of that park. And their values of their property is not going to be as worth it if they knew that they could take their kids or themselves down to the swing area. So anyhow, I'll keep you posted on that. The other part I want to talk to, is that running? Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is you folks put a sidewalk and shake it. The problem is, I think the first day I called the chief to tell him, or not the chief, but the administrator, that I saw a kid wipe out because this they took the sidewalk halfway down, and then there's a gully there for the water to go down the hill. And the people have to leave the sidewalk, walk across, shake it, in order to go up to Paulette or shake it. They should have kept that sidewalk all the way down. You see this one, this is at the end of Shake It right here, and it's a stop sign across Paulette. You can't see anybody coming down on that hill. They go right to the street. It's just a matter of time before somebody has a little accident. I strongly recommend we put a sidewalk all the way down to the Shaken, and then put a cross, just like they have at schools, lines across the road, so if people go to Paulette, they can be safe. The other thing I was going to give you guys was, we have, on these places where all these boats are parked illegally, they start out with 1 or 2. Before you know it, you have 3 starting out, and here's what you end up with. And again, this is not a community like it used to be. People just come and take over anything they want. I got a kick out of the building inspector. All right.
Mr. Labor, before you go, I have a question about the first handout that you,
Pardon me?
I said, I have a question about the first handout you provided.
Always like,
I've lived in the village a long time. I'm not familiar with James Street, Mary Street, or Ann Street.
all right.
And so,
That's what I got from the village. But let me show you the, but I went to the county, got the actual one. This didn't make any sense to me either. Here's the one from the county.
okay, Wanda Wabasso.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the fine print.
And then Shaken.
This shows the plans and the lot numbers.
That's like his using Bill's fee. What's the date on your?
Hi, Tom Daly, 2377-2381 Ventura. I didn't understand, I thought there was going to be a discussion on the TIA correspondence. Is that going to happen after?
That's number 13, pending business.
Okay, but that comes after the call to the public?
Yeah.
Okay, that I didn't know. So, okay,
That's all
so
right.
you guys
Yeah.
will still be discussing that. Okay, also, since I'm here, I was looking for an update on the illegal placement of the village infrastructure on my property at 2381. As you guys are aware, it's been there for 15 years now. I brought it to the village's attention in 2018. I've been asking you guys to do something for it for an awful long time. I've tried to resolve this issue with you guys. I've sent you guys numerous notes. I've worked with whoever you sent to do it, and I've come up with nothing. So I'm really hopeful that you guys can give me an update on what's going on there. Thank you. Is anyone no one's gonna update me? No. I can't, I mean, I guess, I'm just trying to understand here, right? I've sent you guys for 7, 8 years, 2018 is when this whole issue came about. I've had more correspondences, I've paid attorneys to deal with your attorney, I've talked to the engineer, and nothing is being done. You guys, more than 2 years ago, at least 4 of you here, okay, voted. 2 of you voted, I think you and Mr. Germany voted not to have the vote on the condemnation. There's 2 individuals here that voted to proceed with the condemnation proceedings. That was more than 2 years ago. Why can't I get an answer on this? Why can't the village address this in a timely manner? Is this really, really how you want people in the village to be dealt with?
If anybody's going to comment, I think it should be our attorney, so.
Well, I can think of at least 4 attempts at communicating with you from our office by certified mail, and your responses came to the village directly, not our office. So we've attempted to negotiate that with you.
Ma'am, we gave you, when I had my attorney, we gave you all the information more than 2 years ago.
I'm talking within just the last year.
Excuse me, ma'am, I'm talking. You misplaced for a year in your email files and didn't respond to us. We've gone back and forth. We've put all the information on. My attorney and I have done everything we can to come as far as we can
You
to help
actually
you
informed
guys.
us not to talk to your attorney until there's actual condemnation, so we were
No, what I
communicating with you.
actually said, ma'am, is that until you guys are willing to put something in writing that we can agree to, there's no reason to involve my attorney, because he's gonna send you the same information back again. So, if you're not gonna do anything, then you need to go through
So
with
I just want
it.
to address your statement that we're not going to do anything, because I can think of at least 3 instances in the last year where a lot of effort and communication went into attempting to settle this matter with you.
That's completely
You don't
untrue.
want it
That is
worked out,
completely
you
Let
want it
her
worked
finish.
out how you want it
She's
worked
talking
out.
right now, please.
So the village has, the stack of papers that I have on this, it goes back probably a decade of prior to this easement, prior to the sanitary sewer easement. It's an accumulation of issues over and over and over and over and over and over. Right into when we're negotiating the sanitary sewer easement, you want to throw parking in there. Unrelated. It's a nonstop back and forth with you. So the village has exhausted all conversation with you, all communication with you. You making the statement that nothing has been done in 2 years is untruthful. It's nonstop the past year, and you don't even respond to our office, you respond to the village. You send letters to village council. Well,
That's who I'm dealing with, ma'am.
No, you're dealing with me.
No, I'm
their
not. I'm
lawyer.
dealing with the council. I don't deal with you because you have not been able to help in any way, shape, or form. I'm coming to the council right now.
My job
You-
isn't to help you. My
I'm not
job
saying
is to
that.
represent the
I'm
village.
not saying, but to say that you've done anything in the last 2 years is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
You put forward to my lawyer a potential solution, right, that I had provided. We got back with you there. That was in the first quarter of it was more than 2.5 years ago, right? 2.5 years ago, we provided that information to you.
I have the
Nothing
stack
has
of
changed.
papers from
What? The
2
papers-
months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, all certified. I have them signed by you. So I don't know if you're not recalling all of the
I don't know what
communication.
you're talking about, ma'am. I have no idea what you're talking about. That I responded to your request.
Mr. Daly, I understand where the emotion is.
No,
but
no,
let's
I know,
keep
but,
things-
but,
well,
but
let's
she's
keep
sitting here
things
and she's telling me
professional.
that she's done something.
I
She's done
understand.
nothing other than
You
resend,
signed a
other than
certified
resend,
receipt.
other than resend a proposal that we told her 2.5 years ago we weren't gonna sign.
Okay.
I've sent that note to everybody on the council and said, look, I can't deal with this because she doesn't want to address the issue that's open. I need help from you guys to go through and get somebody that will actually do it. If really, you're gonna take my property or create an easement for it, then do it. But don't sit here for another 6 years or another 8 years.
Okay, let's give us the opportunity to
Okay.
speak with Jennifer about it, and then see if we can come to an agreement with the village or the council and have, everybody on the same page, just to kind of clarify what you're talking about and give both sides and see, because, you're both saying one thing, and so, we need all the information. So we need.
You have all the information. It's
I-
been forwarded to you guys. I've
I-
been
this has been
sending,
going- it's been
I
going
wait
for a long
every 2
time.
months, and I send you guys a note, and I say, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything. I haven't
So it's
heard
been
anything.
going on for years, and a lot of the council members that are here now weren't here when it started,
I understand.
okay? So there's a lot of catch-up time,
I understand.
so.
I'm
if you
asking-
afford us that ability to do that, to allow
I
us to make a
don't
decision.
control the council,
Right.
right? I'm asking for the situation to be dealt with. I've asked for the situation to be dealt with since 2018, when you guys told me it wasn't on my property. You told me it wasn't on my property. I have a letter from
Yeah,
the
unfortunately, I wasn't on
then,
the council
from the
then.
then administrator that it wasn't on my property, and if it was, there was an easement.
Okay, so.
That isn't the
That's what I'm
case.
saying, these people weren't on council at that point, to have that information. So, allow us the opportunity to review.
Okay, but let
So
me just say something.
that's what I'm asking.
One more time, let me just say
I-
something. I send a note every 2 months asking for an update. I understand you guys don't want to do anything because you want it, you don't want to say anything, right? I understand that. I don't have anything personal against anybody, right? But this is unconscionable for something to take 8 years. And it's been illegally there for 15. I don't know how a village can have that situation and not have addressed it. This isn't for everybody here. There's been 4 councils that haven't done anything about it. I'm asking for your guys' help. Thank you very much. I don't mean to be upset, but you can
Appreciate you
imagine after
understanding.
8 years,
I appreciate
you
where
would,
you're
you
coming
got,
from.
you would probably be a little
I
bit
appreciate where you're
tired of
coming
it too.
from.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, thank you. Anybody else?
I didn't mean to cut in on anybody. I apologize. Dave Renwick, 685 Amenia. That's almost a perfect segue into what I want to say. I've been trying to prepare a presentation on the trash fee. I have a presentation on the trash fee. I showed it to my best friend my wife, and she said that comes off sounding a little rough on council. And she was the one that pointed out, she said, none of the people on council were there when this went down. And honest to God, that hadn't occurred to me. Council is council, and I apologize for that, because this shouldn't be your problem. But I still plan on releasing it. I'm going to go in and re-edit things to say prior council, prior administrator, prior treasurer, because, yeah, in looking at it through her eyes, I saw it entirely differently. But I'm gonna put it out within the next couple, maybe 3 weeks. But I don't want you guys to be taken by surprise by it. I don't think you will be. I think I've been here enough. I don't want you to take it personally either, because you weren't here. So if I fail to say prior, try to put that in for me. But the rubbish fee, which is obviously what I'm talking about, it was just a badly thought-out stopgap money grab at best. And at worst, it was a devious way to kick the tax burden down the road. And that's what I really feel was done, was old council, prior council, whatever you want to say, rather than they came up with, and that's another thing. I've got the old minutes now. There was a mention made at the time that this was formulated, created, whatever, that the village needed an extra, to my memory, it was $150,000 to $175,000 a year, that it was an emergency. That was another thing. They called it an emergency at the time. It was not an emergency. You had $1,285,000 in the general fund, the village did. Garbage pickup at that time, I believe, was around $280,000 a year. You could easily have taken 1 year's garbage fee out of the general fund without hurting the general fund. The general fund only needed to be $647,000 at that time. So you had about 4 times what the underage would have been. Council didn't want to hear that at the time. I don't know if you want to hear it now, but that was a fact. But the trash fee itself expanded to fill a vacuum. You've seen how the general fund grew over the years. It's now at, I'm sorry, at an obscene level. Jennifer has pointed out, and Mike before her, pointed out that the village needs the money. Actually, that we are 10, 15 years down the road. Like I said, old council kicked this down the road rather than raise taxes. And now you guys are probably going to be saddled with raising taxes somewhere within the next, I would guess, 5 years. You're probably coming into what they thought they were going into. And I don't want to be the enemy. I don't want to, I'm not trying to push anything on you guys, but please look at that. Look at how much has been, Jennifer and I disagree too, on the over-collection. Whoops. Okay. Anyways, just look real close and try to take that over-collection that is shown on your budget into account for this year's garbage fee. That should be a dedicated fee, not something that rolls into the general fund. Thank you very much.
Motion to close to the public?
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Aye, set topics for April 23rd.
Motion to forego?
Motion for go.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, pending business. This is the Transportation Improvement Association's report on Ventura.
Council, as President McKnight has indicated, we provided you a copy of the report that Chuck Keller, the chief engineer at the Transportation Improvement Association in Troy, which is a cooperative throughout the county that's designed to deal with traffic and public safety issues. Chief Sobick had reached out to Mr. Keller after the discussion we had at a prior council meeting and asked him to review the situation. Mr. Keller fortunately was able to get out within just a couple days and inspect the site himself, as indicated in his report dated March 17th. He then followed up, had some discussion with Chief Sovic, and I was part of some of that discussion. In short, what Mr. Keller indicated to the chief and I was that that this is not an unusual situation in the sense that this is an older village in an older subdivision dealing with property that was platted a long time ago, and the way the plat is laid out has caused some parking problems for the residents and for the village. He said it's not uncommon, it's something that he's seen in a variety of places all over the village. At the same time, based upon the additional research he did, he saw a very limited number of options as to what the village would be able to do to attempt to address the situation. Those are contained in the second page of Mr. Keller's report dated March 17th. Chief, you talked more with Mr. Keller than I did. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
After looking at it, he was like, because Chuck's he's like the guy in Oakland County, the engineer, he's always got a solution for everything. That's where we go to him. And his words were like, there's really no good options here that I have for you. I can make a couple of recommendations, which he has provided for us, but he strongly recommended getting together with the people that this area affects to have some type of meeting or discussion to find out what might be the best possible solution. So, I mean, what might be good for one person might not be good for the rest of the group up there. And so that's why his suggestion was to get these people that live up there in that area that affects this, get together, have a discussion, and find out where they want to possibly head out next. So very limited, unfortunately, but usually Chuck has a lot more insight than we do on these things. But those are the best options that he provided to us, which you guys have in your packets.
And the one comment that, one of the comments that Mr. Keller had made was if the village did want to consider expanding the no parking zone up in that area, he felt that marking the pavement would be one way to do that, but again, just marking the pavement in alone of itself would not be enough. He said there would have to be a significant amount more signage that would have to be posted up in that area as well.
Correct. And a lot more patrols during that time initially if we decide to post signs up there, a lot more patrolling just to make sure everything is adhered to, but yeah.
So are we going to send something to the affected property owners in that area to set up a meeting?
We can I think that's what we're here to discuss,
Yeah, I think we
how
should.
council wants to proceed.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we host a public meeting with the affected owners on Ventura.
Motion by Duff,
I second it.
second by Kaznecki. Any discussion on that?
I could maybe just get some clarification. Are we talking about doing it as part of a regular council agenda?
No.
Or is it a special meeting? Okay.
And I would also, I guess, amend my motion a little bit in terms of, I think we should have some type of mailing or some communication to the affected residents to see actually if there are enough people that have a concern about this. Because we get 2 people back, you know, obviously reconstructing the road, affecting a bunch of people that don't seem to have an issue with it, seems kind of like forcing the issue on the rest of the owners of that property.
So you're thinking of some kind of correspondence?
Yeah.
Maybe with a copy of Mr. Keller's report, asking if they would be interested in the
Yeah.
village conducting a
Yep.
a meeting?
Yeah, due diligence,
Yep.
just to
Yep.
make sure that we have
I think that
enough
would work.
buy-in.
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
mean, I think we ought to send them a letter, and if they're not interested or they don't care, well, then
Yeah,
why have a
exactly.
meeting? But
Yep.
I think we owe them an opportunity to speak, to hear what's going on, to
Yep.
speak. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
then-
also,
And then, I guess, gauging the level of interest, then I can report back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can make a decision as to what direction you want to go from there.
Yep.
might not be a bad idea too, just to throw out several dates. Because if you're only gonna do like once have the certain times of the month or once, I would suggest several dates so we can, one might not work out for one person or 2 people, so throw out several dates that are gonna be available, just to make sure that we can have as many people attending to address the issue.
Would that muddy the waters a little bit? Some people can make one, some people can't make the other, or make it a little more.
Or have the possibility of a Zoom or some other type of meeting where people can actually come
Yeah,
in.
Zoom
because-
wouldn't
You don't
actually be a
want to get
bad
more than
way of going
one,
about it.
one meeting.
Yeah.
You want to try and get as many people,
Oh, yeah.
so you have more participation.
Full council?
Can't
Do that
have Zoom,
virtual.
Right.
Can't have
Yeah,
that
the
Zoom.
council would have to be here. We could allow residents to Zoom in though, potentially.
And do it both sides.
The days of COVID are over. You will all need to be here.
But we could, if there, I guess number one, if we
Some
determine
rally.
that there's enough interest,
Yeah.
then we can try to land on a date and we could make it an option of either, if residents wanted to attend in person, they could attend. If they didn't want to or they weren't able to, then we could have the option to have them Zoom in.
Mhm.
We have to coordinate with Merge Live, but I'm sure
Sure.
they could accommodate some call-ins, so.
All right, make our motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, we'll try to get something out by the end of next week.
New to our agenda, our council liaison reports. Parks and Rec.
So we had our budget discussion, or at least the preliminary one, to kind of go through some things. We're going to be looking to add a line item for the 5K, now that that's looking like it's going to be happening every year. Talk a little bit about capital expenditures, primarily just being some signage, as was mentioned in our work session back in February. Linda from our board has already done some research on some signage, found some really neat things, not only about just upgrading, but also creating a little more wayfinding as to help people understand how the park is structured as it runs through the tennis courts area and all those things, so they know how to, so there's just better awareness and understanding of Claire Miller Park and all that it offers. Had a little bit of discussion on our park master plan, and just kind of seeing who was interested in being a part of that kickoff committee to get that going, and we actually did just meet for that. Dave included on Monday with our planner, Chris Nordstrom, that was myself, Brian Lindman, and Linda Schwartz were able to attend, and then Lori Longrake will be on that committee as well. And that was a very productive meeting with Chris, and getting things going early, talking about the survey, talking about our goals and our objectives for this upcoming master plan. And he was very complimentary about all the upgrades that was done in the park. I was looking forward to going out and checking them out on Monday. We concluded our Easter Bunny Luncheon planning, everything else, that is this Saturday. So that's coming up quick. Brief discussions about the garage sale, 5K, And then our Tuesdays in the parks, we're still waiting on some confirmation from Oakland County about what we requested is available, but that should be happening. We're having our dog show, and that's going in June, so that should be exciting. And then we start talking about the corn roast, of course, because never too early. And we are planning on having a work session for that, probably later this month or early May, when we'll also do our park walkthrough and check out everything and see what concerns we might have about that. But we'll get that scheduled at our next meeting. And then farmers markets just is ongoing and ready to go. We talked about that a little bit. And then, of course, we have our, as I discussed with them, our blood drive coming up on Monday, and then our cereal drive concluding on the 15th, which is Tuesday. Yeah, so it was a productive meeting as usual, and a good turnout from the board.
CBA?
So unfortunately, we did not have a quorum. We had one case.
Is it the second one?
So the first one, the regular one, we did not have a quorum. And unfortunately, the second one, the rescheduled one, I don't believe we have a quorum either.
For this month.
For this month, okay. Sorry.
That's it. That's all I got.
Aaron, Water Management Board.
Water Management Board, we talked about earlier about the shrink wrap recycling program. We did discuss that, obviously, council approved it tonight. Safety fair, we talked about just getting our ducks in order, make sure everyone is on the same topic about covering what station they are, final planning. Fish stocking, nothing harvesting. Harvest discussion, we are still doing more research on the equal harvester, the harvester that kind of actually pulls the weeds instead of cutting the weeds. So we are trying to get as much information we can before we present it to council to see if it's a good offsetter. So it might be a purchase. And the disclaimer is that you can use this machine and not use chemicals in the lake. So we're trying to find out, is that really viable for this lake? Is it true? If so, one expense could actually save us a lot of money in the long run. So that's something we're still researching on, but we'll bring it up to you when we have that presentation for you. The boat cleaning station signage on the DNR launch too. We got approved and everything too. It is currently under development, so it's in process. We just need to get it in place for you. We did have one call a public to have actually Mr. Laybourne come up and address his concerns on the boats, which he's brought before us too. We're discussing it to see if we're more of an advisement role, or if we are able to take charge of those concerns. We're trying to figure out that right now about what is the role of the water board in addressing that concern for a member of the public. We'll try to figure that out. And the rest was updated. So that's all right for water management work.
Planning.
Unfortunately, Planning Commission did not have a quorum, so we actually had to table our discussion for the RM1 change of ordinance until next month.
That was a nice addition, thank you. Chief Sovek.
Okay, Councilman O'Brien, Bill, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Well deserved, I'm sure. I tried it once, I wasn't very good at it, so here I am. Jen, happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Dave stole my thunder earlier, but happy birthday. The Operation Medicine Cabinet, you know, the prescription box that we have up front, that's for prescription medications. We prefer, since I clean it out twice a year and try and get things squared away, sometimes things smell in there. We don't want your old body cream or your Aleve or Advil. We want prescription medication. No needles, no liquids, just a reminder, Operation Medicine Cabinet, prescription drugs, we'll take that. On the other side, right outside the front door, we have the Narcan supplies. If you know anybody that is struggling with addiction or possibly opioids and they want that antagonist, that Narcan that could save them, there are plenty of boxes up there, plenty of samples. Take as many as you need. They come around once or twice a week or once every 2 or 3 weeks, and they resupply all that. So please, if you need something, that's available to you free of charge. Our Facebook page is kind of under construction. It's going to be a little bit more like an information, not so much interactive, but just letting you know about events and things coming up. Not that we want to split away from the Wolverine Lake page. We're still going to be posting stuff on there. But a lot of times, like if we're asking the public for assistance in identifying or somebody, 2 minutes later, it's like five threads deep and like no one responds or no one helps. So it's going to be something that we can actually pin to the top of our Facebook page. So that's going to be coming up soon. We're in construction for that. And when I first showed up here back it was almost 2 years ago, it's hard to believe that the time has just gone by that quickly, but one of the first things I started doing is I start looking for, like, leaders, who's going to be leading this place. We have to have a succession plan. It's never too early to talk about who's going to be taking over for you. And so, you look around and you see, you interact, and you find out who's interested and who's not, and you always look for those leaders. And so one of the things I like to be doing is looking for leaders, is provide training to those people and get somebody in the pipeline who is going to be a viable option for me when I leave. And so, and I'm not saying I'm leaving tomorrow, I'm not saying I'm leaving in 2 years. I have nothing going on. My plan is to be here for more years. I said 7 to 10, so I've got 5.5 to 8.5, so I'm not going anywhere. This is not why I'm bringing this up, but I'd like to promote someone to a sergeant position in next year's fiscal budget. That's not probably going to take effect July 1st, but sometime during next fiscal year, just in case something does happen to Sergeant Morosco or I, it's always good to have somebody in there that's kind of got a little bit taste for it and just ready to go. And so Dave and I have discussed that. It's a increase in pay for one of the officers. They're going to be working midnights. We're going to split the administrative duties between more administrative stuff for the daytime sergeant and then more patrol investigation stuffs for the midnight officer. We are not going to replace that officer. We're not going to add to our number of people that we have. It's just a simple promotion. They're going to be a sergeant and still take care of their patrol duties, just like the normal sergeant does right now. So I will take that leap of faith, and maybe you guys will take me serious on looking at that for next year's fiscal budget. So if you guys don't have any other questions for me, that's all that I have for you.
Jen?
Happy
birthday.
Thank you, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for renewing my contract for 3 more years. It's been a really great 3 years, and I've appreciated all the confidence that you guys have placed in me, and I'm really appreciative. We're working on budgets now, and so that process has already started. I am looking to, by the end of this month, I'm going to be going to my next treasurer's training, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I completed my first 3-year one, and now I'm going to be going to the Advanced Treasurer Institute, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's it. And to just say what Chief Solvik was saying about the Narcan, you don't have to even know anybody who has a problem, especially on a lakefront. Having one in your house just in case a neighbor or something, has, something. They can be everywhere. They're free, and there's no reason not to have one in your medicine chest, a Narcan patch. So something to think about. And happy Easter, happy spring, and all that. So.
Mr. Gillum?
Just a general comment to follow up on some of the liaison reports. We are always looking for residents, good people to step up to join any of our boards and commissions here at the village. We have had some issues recently. Things happen, life happens, people have to be out of town for business, things like that, but particularly on the zoning board and to a little bit lesser extent on the planning commission, we're still looking for bodies. So if there are any residents that are interested in volunteering some time, once a month at most, we have the applications available on the website and at the village hall. If you'd like to step in and fill one out, that would be wonderful. So if there was any kind of a lull over the winter, in terms of what I'm doing, the lull is over now. Nothing really very exciting or very glamorous, but just to kind of run down some of the things that I'm working on right now. We're in the process of closing out the trust fund grant for Clara Miller Park. The last piece of the puzzle that we were waiting for was the actual plaque that we're required to post out at the park, acknowledging the support from the DNR and from the state. our prime professional has just received the plaque. In fact, he dropped it off at my office today. So I'll be working with the DPW to get that plaque mounted out there. Then we can close out that grant. Once the grant is closed out, then we can get Michigan Recreational Construction out to put the 2 additional pieces of play equipment out there. They're currently sitting out in the barn for the DPW. I attended a meeting last week down at the Detroit Institute of Arts. The village is participating again this year in the DIA's Inside Out Public Art Program. At this point in time, working with the DIA staff, we've identified 8 locations in the village where there will be replicas of well-known pieces of art from the DIA's collection that'll be on display. At this point in time, I'm just waiting for word from the DIA as to when the sign company that's going to actually be doing the installation will be doing the work. Once we have those dates, then we can stake the sites and then work with Miss Dig to have them come out and mark any utility lines to make sure there are any problems in that sense. So that's work in progress. 2 weeks from today, we have representatives of Eagle that are coming into the village for our periodic soil erosion and sedimentation control program audit. So there was a detailed questionnaire that we had to fill out and submit to Eagle for them to review prior to the audit. So I've been working with Jeff Rondo, who does our soil erosion inspections, and with Tabitha Linsenmeyer upstairs to put that information together. The information has been submitted ahead of schedule, and we'll see the folks from Eagle in a couple weeks. I'm also working on updating and gathering all the information for our annual insurance renewal with the Michigan Municipal League. We have to go back and make sure that we have the right employee counts and the right inventory of vehicles, and all the property descriptions and property values are all accurate. So I'm working on that right now so we can get that information to the MML so they can generate an updated quote for the upcoming fiscal year. I'm finishing up our annual report to the United States Department of Treasury on how we have used our share of the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act money, the coronavirus relief funding. We have allocated and spent all of the money, as basically we have been required to do, so we're not going to be having to repay any money to the federal government, which is a good thing, but I still have to file the annual report. I had a long, rather dry webinar with Treasury this afternoon, but working with Jennifer, we pretty much got that wrapped up, and I should be able to get that report filed ahead of time. I've had conversation with Larry Gray, the supervisor from Commerce Township. Kind of a recurring theme at the township these days is increasing dissatisfaction with Oakland County over the amount of fees that the county is trying to pass along to the township for the various programs and services. We experienced it ourselves in terms of the increase in the cost for police dispatch services. The township has been dealing with a significant increase in the patrol services, the contract that they have. But the issue is coming up in other areas too. The township has a contract with Oakland County Equalization for equalization to do all of the assessing work in the township, determine the property values for purposes of determining property taxes, and then the annual board of review process and things like that. Well, we're part of the township, so we fall under that contract. Now, the township had received indications that the cost to renew that contract next year with the county were going to go up potentially as much as 25%. So to the township's credit, they went ahead and they put together a request for proposals. And that request for proposals is out right now. Larry stopped by the office today. They've received 3 responses so far to their request for proposals. They have not received a response from the county yet, although the county has indicated that they will be submitting a proposal. So Larry had asked, and I had agreed, and I'm probably going to loop Jennifer into those discussions, but she and I will be sitting down with the with people from the township, probably with Larry, with their treasurer, Molly Phillips, and probably one other member of their board of trustees, possibly George Weber, who's a village resident, to review the proposals and potentially be involved in interviewing the firms, so the township is in a position to make a decision as to what they want to do going forward with their assessing services. So again, nothing real exciting, nothing real glamorous, but stuff that needs to get done and important stuff. So on top of that, Bill O'Brien, congratulations to you again on your retirement, well-deserved.
Getting very used to it already.
I'm not sure what your former employer is going to do without you, but I guess that's their problem. So, yeah. Jennifer, again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I feel bad I was out of the office this morning, so we'll try to do something for you tomorrow when everybody's in the office. So, other than that, we've got a couple holidays to celebrate before we come back in a couple of weeks. Happy Easter to everyone, you and your families, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there as well. Thank you.
Council comments. Want to start, Pam?
Wow, yes. I mentioned to Mark, and I'll offer again, if you need help taking any of the cereal over to Hospitality House, I have a very large van, and I'd be more than glad to help you.
Thank you, I'll let you
Because
know.
I know at least when I've come through, it's been pretty full, and then it was emptied, so I emptied out. Today, both Aaron and I were finally given a formal approval to be on the layup board. We were voted in. And Aaron has already gone to the head of the class. I mean, she's going to be a favorite of them very soon. She was able to acquire the gift bags for free that they're going to fill with a variety of different things for some fourth graders for the summer. They're called Boredom Busters. So they were just tickled to death that she was able to secure 350 bags. So I was wondering, after listening to different things on the council and reading different reports, is there a limit as to how many boats we can have on our lake, either by the DNR or the water board? Has that ever been approached or asked, or maybe we don't have a limit? I was curious. You know? Anybody know?
I've never heard that there is one, but that doesn't mean that there isn't.
Yeah.
I'm just not aware of one.
Yeah, I was thinking more from the DNR, standpoint of view, since we have a DNR launch, right? I mean, it's not a private lake, right? So, but anyway, so I was just curious about that.
I'll make a call. Yeah.
Huh?
I'll make a call.
Okay.
Somebody.
I'm really excited that the code enforcement officer came tonight, Bill. It was nice to meet him. And Jennifer's birthday, thank you for coming on your birthday for a meeting. I was kind of going around the village over the weekend, and I was wondering, I went to Claire Miller, and the park is looking so nice. I mean, it's really, with the courts and the new playground equipment. But I was wondering, can we paint the old swings? They look terrible.
It's on our list of something to address.
I don't know, maybe sometimes when you paint metal, it just chips off. But if you can't paint it, can they be scrubbed or cleaned or something? They just look terrible.
Can't they?
Maybe.
Because everything else looks so nice.
The bike rack. There's a few things out
DPW
there.
just painted all the picnic tables.
Did they?
Yeah, they had them all in the garage. Was there like 8 of them in there that they painted?
A bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the big swings and that metal stagecoach looking thing. It looks the same way as the big swings. Anyway, just a thought, And I think, is there plans to add maybe another bench next to the pickleball courts? I don't know. It's just a thought, And then the west side is completely open. Was that intentional?
Yeah.
That there was no fence there?
Yeah, I think we need to taper that a little better, put a little more material at the edge there, because there's a little bit of a step off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always intended, based on our plans and everything, to leave it open.
Yeah, but even though it was cold this weekend, I was amazed at how many people were in the park. Yeah, walking dogs or his father's son rollerblading and, oh my goodness, playing hockey, so. And the last thing, I have a question. I've had several people, not several, I've had a few people from the village ask me about the new house that's being built on Oak Island right by the bridge. It's like, how did that ever get approved? It's like right up on the road. It must have had a lot of variances, thank you.
It went through the normal process in the zoning board and it was approved as.
It was? Wow.
I don't recall if there was a setback from the road that we approved, but it's a unique property. It has water on, 3 sides of it?
Yeah.
So, it was a unique property when we reviewed it, but I don't recall off the top of my head if it was a setback from the road that we approved, but there was certain setbacks that we certainly looked at.
And so with that, just happy Easter, happy Mother's Day, and happy birthday!
Welcome to Turner Smith. Hopefully we get a chance to meet him sometime, maybe in the near future. Thank you to the Leah board for extending the invitation to Pam and I to join their board. Looking forward to joining the Easter Bunny Lunch this weekend. Certainly appreciate all the work that the Parks and Rec board does to create these special events for the children in our community. And happy Easter.
Happy birthday. Congratulations, Bill. The accomplishments. Just a reminder about our safety. We got classes coming up here. April 26th, May 10th. If there's any spots open, you need to take advantage of it. Contact the office.
Actually, you have to register online.
Online?
Yeah.
DNR.
Yes.
So those are still spots then.
Yep.
Then also, happy Mother's Day, happy Easter, everyone be safe.
Yep, happy birthday, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Happy Easter and happy Mother's Day to everyone, and just have a great month, and hope you all safe.
Happy birthday, congrats on the retirement. Happy Easter and happy Mother's Day. Be safe, everyone.
Happy birthday, Jen. I saw it was on Facebook, and I was like, oh, hey. Good news. Congratulations, Bill. Again, I'm hoping you'll come in one day in flip-flops and a Hawaiian shirt with a little drink. Just saying, I think it'd be good. We get more viewers probably. Again, reminders, we've got the blood drive on Monday from 3:30 to 8 p.m. Cereal drive, Tuesday is the last day to get them in. As of now, we've got at least 5 large containers filled up, so it's been going really well. I'd like to thank Bill Bzzinski for coming out today. Really informative. I think we learned a little bit about, got a better understanding of how code enforcement's being done in the village, and the things that he has to deal with that we may not have realized, and how unique it is of a job. Yep, Bunny Luncheon's this Saturday. It has been sold out for a while. And again, the weather looks great, which is such a relief after snow last year. Happy Easter to everybody, and happy Mother's Day.
I was going to talk about real quick, there's mailing's been going out to some village residents, and it's from the National Police Association looking for donations toward quality of life policing petition. Right, and I looked up, and it's not valid in any way, even though our name and information's on it, but the council. So if anybody gets those, everything I've looked into, it's absolutely bogus. So please, if anybody's out there, don't fall for that one. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day. Congratulations, Bill. That's it. Motion adjourned.
Motion.
Second.
Well, second by, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?